It is Sunday, August the 2nd. It's been a while since my last total garden overview, so let's get started here. The corn, of course, is pretty much, fully grown as far as height goes, all 6 rows. And I've harvested almost all of the first 2 rows and just a small amount of the second 2 rows, none of the third 2 rows. It's going to be a while for the third 2 rows come in. And of course I've got beans planted in the corn, which I think they're going to do pretty good. Of course, I've not been able, there's no way that I can go in there in this big mass of vegetation and pick the bugs off of it. So it pretty much has to, excuse me, it pretty much has to fend for itself as far as the bugs, which means the Mexican bean beetles are gonna get a good portion of it. But I'll be picking beans probably tomorrow, if not tomorrow, the next day, because I've got quite a few that's just that size there. And then there's a pretty nice bean right there. That's looking pretty good. So actually, and see right there, there is a Mexican bean beetle that hasn't quite reached maturity yet there. So that's not too far past the larval stage, really. So yeah, as you can see, there's a fair amount of beans here. So I'm going to get a big amount of beans really off of these vines, in spite of them being polluted with Mexican bean beetles. Lots of nice beans here. I'm looking forward to eating some beans. Haven't had any in a good while. Last year's bean crop was pretty much a bust. Yep, there's another one of them little nasty boogers right there. Many years ago we didn't have to deal with the Mexican bean beetles. Life was simpler then. Okay, and right up here is my vining crops, the cucumbers, which don't look so good, and the watermelon and cantaloupe, which don't look so good. And last time you saw me, they was nice and lush and green, and I cut my little path down there between the two, which I figured it would just sort of heal back over because the plants were just spreading so fast, but they never really did. Not so long ago, they just started really looking bad. And I'm getting very few cucumbers now. It's just about ready to rip the whole thing out. And the melons, they don't look good either. And really, I think what's happened here, it didn't have anything to do with me cutting the little path through here. But I really need to take my own advice on this stuff. If you saw my last garden vlog, you saw me stressing on the beans, how it's best to never top water your stuff. It's always best to bottom water. And yeah, I've been out here top watering all my vine and stuff because it was kind of hard to wade in there to them and get my hose right down there around the roots. And I think this is partially a result of that, maybe all the result of that, I don't know. And yeah, I think it's because I top watered them and they just didn't like that much top watering. But yeah, I've had just tons of cucumbers, so it's okay that they're dying out now. But here I've got all kind of cantaloupe that are immature, like this size here, and they don't really seem like they've grown any here recently. I'm not sure that I'm going to get any cantaloupe. I mean, there's quite a few of them in here. That's just, and the vines just aren't going to be able to pull them through to the mature size. However, I do have the same with the watermelon. I've got quite a few watermelon. This is, that size there. They're not gonna make it. I do have 2 watermelon, one right here, and these are kind of a dwarf watermelon anyway, so they may not be supposed to be much bigger than this. They're not really ready until the vine just readily pops off the end, and that one's not popped off yet. So I'm hoping it'll grow a little bit bigger. There's that one, and around here there is this one, which is even bigger. So I'm hoping that these 2 here will be fairly tasty. We'll see. The watermelon that I've got in the store this year, they're all seedless, And I don't know if the seedless are all kind of like tasteless compared to the seeded, but they've really not been very good out of the store. The seedless have just been crappy, so I'm not going to plant any. Next year when I plant, I'm not going to plant any seedless, because from what I've been able to observe, the seedless just have not been as tasty as the just traditional old watermelons. I need to take my own advice, especially on these melons. It looks like, do not top water your melons. And I'm not going to do that next year. I think I'm to blame for this right here. Okay, and these right here are some squash plants that I planted later on. So you can see they're already getting on up there pretty big. And there is the ubiquitous Mexican bean beetle. Evil, evil, squash. Okay, anyway. Yeah, these 4 plants here, it won't be long, they'll be producing. And wow, these things here just keep on and on and on. They're getting a little bit long in the tooth, but see, that's 6 plants total, and you can see just how big a massive vines that they actually did make. And there's still plenty of squash on them and plenty of blooms, so they'll be going a while longer. Okay, these tomatoes up here are getting a little bit raggy looking. They really won't grow much taller than that, I can tell, because they've just sort of quit. So mainly what's going to mature on them is just, you know, the tomatoes that's there right now. They won't really be blooming and producing any new tomatoes. But I just want you to look at the size of these suckers. I mean, these... last year I had a lot of medium-sized tomatoes, and this year it just seems like I've had a lot fewer tomatoes, but they've been, that one shouldn't have come off quite early, but it did. It'll ripen up. It's got a blush of red, and they've got a little bit of blight in them, so they probably won't last too much longer. There's the early girl. It's got it just produces more of the medium-sized tomatoes, it seems like. This one that's produced the best, I mean, just virtually every tomato on this first one here is like a huge tomato. And this, thankfully, I do have my little sticker there to tell what kind these are, and these are the German pinks. I'm definitely going to plant more German pinks next year, because I really do like the big tomatoes. Here's my tomatoes on the fence. Originally I was going to keep up with pruning them and stuff a little bit better than this, but I just let them go. So they seem like they're doing pretty good. It's got a few dead branches and all in there, but overall they're doing pretty good. I just let them sprawl out on the ground here, and the ones that sprawl out on the ground are producing a few. Like, I mean, just look at the cluster of tomatoes I've got right in there. So I'm gonna have plenty of tomatoes. I don't know if I'll have enough tomatoes to do my big giant pot of soup this year like I did last year. I won't be filming it again anyway, even if I do the giant pot of soup. Here's through the tomato tunnel. So, you know, fence on either side here. So every now and then I'll walk through here and I'll find something like that, and I'll kind of dislodge it where it hopefully won't get stuck too bad in the fence. I've only had to cut out 1 tomato so far that was stuck in the fence. See, there's one just asking to be picked right there. That's a pretty good size one. I would call that a medium sized one there. The tomatoes are doing fairly good. Nothing to totally brag about, but they're not a bad looking group of tomatoes. These here are almost to the top of that fence, and the top of that fence is close to 6 foot tall. And over here we have our peppers.